So this is a short video showing how in animation it's very important that everything comes from the core of the character's body. And in this case I'm just going to show you a little bit of animation featuring Heavy from the Team Fortress gang. This character can be downloaded from highend3d.com. Here he is. You can download him for free and include all the textures. It's a great little rig, very, very light and very useful for our purposes. And what I want to show you is why in animation everything needs to come from the core, and why when you move a character you need to move the whole body and not just bits of it. So a super common mistake made by junior animators is to block out a shot on stepped curves, all of which is good, but then they only keyframe individual parts of the body, such as the head and the arms. Now this is a bad way of working, and so in this video I want to show you why it doesn't work and why it's not a good way. So we've got Heavy leaning down, and he's going to come down here and lean down towards the ball that he's going to pick up. Now whenever we move this character, I'm on stepped curves by the way, so if you want to be in stepped curves you want to make sure you click on preferences and go to settings, animation, and make sure you're in clamped and stepped there. And mostly when we're blocking our animation we're working on stepped curves. So let's say that let's say here at frame 125 we want to insert a breakdown between these two poses, and let's say that at frame 113 we decide we want to tilt Heavy's head downwards so that he looks at the ball. And you'll see lots of students doing this. Let's actually just make sure that we've got that keyframed at 125 like that. But you'll see lots of students do this. So what you end up with is animation that looks like this. So at 113 we've just got a little bit of the body moving. But actually you really don't want to do this for a whole variety of reasons. But the two key reasons you don't want to do it are that everything comes from the core. And that means that even when Heavy tilts our head, the actual motion isn't coming from the neck, although it's partly coming from there. It's actually coming from here. It's coming from the core of our bodies. So you always want to move the world control or the root control just a little bit, sometimes called the center of gravity control. And if I move that and have that drive the motion, then it's going to feel a lot more natural than if that motion just comes from the head. And I also need to move the arms as well, because we can't have bits of the body moving and other bits of the body not moving, because it's going to create confusion and make it very, very hard for us to animate the shot. So what we want to do is make sure that when we're blocking this out, that everything moves, even if it's just something as simple as a head turn. And the easiest way to solve this problem is actually not to animate individual body parts like I'm doing, but to use the tween machine. And that is a really super useful plugin that can be downloaded for free. Now there is a separate video on how to animate the tween machine, but I'm just going to go into it in a little bit of detail here, just to make sure that everybody understands how to use it. It's by Justin Barrett, but I'm not going to go to the official site. I'm going to go to my Animation Apprentice blog post on it, which shows you how to download the tween machine, and there's even a little video there on how to animate with it. Now let's just launch it in Maya. So back in Maya, let's go ahead and click on our script editor down there. Ooh, just got to pop into preferences again to turn on display help. For some, it does have display tool clips on. For some reason, Maya doesn't like displaying. Okay, there we go. Yeah, script editor, that's what I'm after. Okay, so let's turn that on. And you can see I've actually got tween machine typed down here in the Mel section, and that should activate it. So if I drag it, there is some stuff you have to do before this, by the way, but I'll leave you to go to the blog post to download the tween machine. So then I'm just going to click on this, and that should launch the tween machine there. So now that I've got the tween machine launched, and also I should probably name this. Let's go to shelf editor and name it TM Sayable shelves, there we go, tween machine, or you could call it TW, that might be better actually, let's call it yeah, that's a little better. Okay, so then let's say that I want to insert a breakdown in between these two characters at frame 13, but I don't want that to be halfway between, I mean it's halfway in the timing, but I don't want it to be halfway in the spacing. So let's say I want that first pose to favor, I mean I want this breakdown to favor the first pose. What I do is take this slider there, and then what will happen, let's just move this out of the way, is now, sorry, Maya's running slow today for some reason. Now, when I press play, I get my breakdown is favoring the first pose. But you'll notice that everything is moving. Everything is moving, and the root control is moving, and the head is moving, and the arms are moving, but everything is in motion. So we're keeping the character alive. And we're not just animating, this is the crucial bit, individual body parts. And I can go and adjust this. I can go and adjust the head. Let's say maybe he's looking up there at the beginning. So I want him to, I want his head to come down, and then he comes in. And if I need a pose to favor this one, 149, let's say I want to go into 149, and I want that to favor the final position. Oops, let me just go show none. You can't, if you have too much turned on in Maya, it becomes difficult to select all the control curves. So I'll just have NURBS, curves, and polygons turned on. So if I select all of those, and then let's go to the midway point in the timing, but this time let's select the ease in. So we're favoring the end position. I should get an attractive result. Let's get this out of the way. So this pose goes in there, and now we're favoring that end position at frame 149. And that keeps everything alive. And that way you don't get individual body parts moving randomly with random bits of the timeline. And we actually end up with everything keyframed on all the important control curves in the timeline, and we don't have individual random bits that we then have to clean up later. So when I say, if we go back to the blog post, if we remind ourselves that you don't want to keyframe individual body parts such as the head or the arms, that everything needs to come from the core, that's what I'm talking about. And the most easy way to deal with this is to make sure that you use the tween machine. You select all the curves and use the tween machine to put in your extremes and breakdowns. And that will ensure that you don't just move individual bits like a head or a hand, that you actually move the whole body, and your motion will feel much more believable and fluid as a result.